Hello and welcome to Be Knowledge Share. In this episode, we continue with Chapter 2 and we'll go through Requirements Classification Schema. So without further ado, let's get started. As you can see over here, we have one slide that has requirement classification schema information. This basically provides a breakdown on the types of requirements that are generated in this section. So let's first look at business requirements and what they are. So a business requirement is a statement of goals, objectives, and outcomes that describe why a change has been initiated that can apply to the whole of an enterprise, a business area, or a specific initiative. So business requirements are basically statements of goals and objectives. Now you could kind of leverage the business case or the business objectives as provided the by a project kind of scope statement, or you, if that's not available, you could kind of secure that from the stakeholders themselves, or in some instances, engage the project manager and the stakeholders to derive what the goals and objectives are, as well as to break down what those business requirements should look like. The next requirements classification is the stakeholder requirements. Now, stakeholder requirements describe the needs of stakeholders that must be met in order to achieve the business requirements. They may serve as a bridge between business and solution requirements. So think of stakeholders' requirements as more so maybe functional specs in some instances, but in some instances they could be their higher level requirements between business requirements and solution requirements, which consists of the functional specs. Oh, sorry, the requirements. The next one you have solution requirements. Solution requirements describe the capabilities and the qualities of a solution that meets the stakeholder requirements. They provide the appropriate level of detail to allow for the development and implementation of the solution. Solution requirements can be divided into two subcategories. You have the functional requirements and the non-functional requirements. Let's dive a little bit deeper into what those are. Functional requirements describe the capabilities that a solution must have in terms of the behavior and information that the solution will manage. For instance, in the you may be building out a website for your stakeholders, and in that case, your functional specs would be more so things like, well, access to the website, the menus to the website, um, and so on clicking the website, the user must see the following web pages. So those are the sorts of functional requirements that we're talking about here. Non-functional requirements or quality of service requirements do not relate directly to the behavior or functionality of the solution, but rather describe conditions under which a solution must remain effective or qualities that a solution must have. Right? So non-functional requirements could be things like security, could be things like, you know, um, concurrency access, things of that sort. So those are non-functional requirements that are very specific to the quality of the service requirements and not to the behavior or the user behavior. And typically you kind of engage your technical folks to kind of gather those requirements, and in some instances go back to the business and say, hey, well, how long or how many times do you access this report? Kind of understand the volume of, say, reports. The last one is transition requirements. Transition requirements are capabilities that solution must have and the conditions that the solution must meet to facilitate the transition from the current state to the future state, but which are not needed once the change is complete. They are differentiated from other requirement types because they are of a temporary nature. Transition requirements address topics such as data conversion, training, and business continuity. So transition requirements could be instances when you are working through a conversion project. In a conversion project, you are moving maybe data from one vendor to in-house or one vendor to another vendor. And in that case, the transition is how do you transition from the current state of vendor holding that information to maybe the in-house state or the future state where now you're going to be hosting that data in-house, and what do the gaps look like, and how do you map those gaps. So those are the sorts of transition requirements that you may want to consider, and it's important to gather those transition requirements. That being said, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on our next episode where I talk to you about the stakeholders and what each stakeholder component is as part of the BABOK guide. And I hope you're able to subscribe to this channel as well as visit our website at baknowledgeshare.com. Once again, that's baknowledgeshare.com. Thank you.